There is a particular kind of loss that history rarely acknowledges. Not the loss of lives or cities or empires, but the loss of ideas, of questions that were asked and answers that were found, and then quietly forgotten. In the ancient city of Alexandria on the northern coast of Egypt, there stood an institution that had no precedent in the world before it. It was called the Mauseon, the Shrine of the Muses. And attached to it was a library unlike anything human civilization had attempted. History isn't a straight line. It's a chain of moments, and some of them almost broke. Welcome to The Butterfly Effect, the series that asks, what if the Library of Alexandria had survived? The Library of Alexandria was founded around 295 BC, during the reign of Ptolemy Soter, one of Alexander the Great's generals who inherited Egypt after Alexander's death and set about making his capital the intellectual center of the known world. His vision was not merely a repository, it was a living institution. Scholars were brought to Alexandria from across the Mediterranean, paid by the state, housed in the palace district, and freed from all civic obligations, so that they could dedicate their lives entirely to study. At its height, the library held an estimated 400,000 to 700,000 papyrus scrolls. The range is debated, but the scale is not. The library held Homer's complete works. Euclid developed his foundational geometry there. Archimedes corresponded with its scholars. Galen, the physician whose anatomical theories would define medicine for over 1,000 years, drew extensively from its medical collections. It was, in the most literal sense, the custodian of humanity's accumulated understanding. Popular history tends to remember the library's end as a single catastrophic fire. Julius Caesar, a stray flame in the harbor, 48 BC. The reality is both more complicated and, in some ways, more sobering. Caesar's campaign did destroy a warehouse of scrolls near the harbor, but it was more likely books awaiting export, not the library itself. The institution endured, but it endured through centuries of political disruption, declining royal patronage, and periodic physical damage. The last documented head librarian, Theon of Alexandria, died around 405 AD. His daughter, Hypatia, a mathematician, philosopher, and astronomer of considerable reputation, was murdered in the streets of Alexandria in 415 AD by a Christian mob. She is often considered the last figure in the library's intellectual lineage. By the time the Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 AD, the great institution was gone. Knowledge compounds. Each discovery builds upon those that preceded it, shortening the distance to the next breakthrough. Remove a generation of accumulated understanding, and the loss is not linear, it is exponential. The discoveries that would have flowed from that knowledge also disappear, along with everything those discoveries would have enabled. The library's survival, then, does not simply add centuries to the calendar, it removes the interruption entirely. In this alternate history, let's consider what an unbroken intellectual tradition might have produced. By 600 AD, Aristarchus's heliocentric model, never suppressed, never lost, forms the foundation of Byzantine and early Islamic astronomy. Navigation becomes vastly more precise. The mathematical tools needed to calculate planetary motion develop organically, centuries ahead of Kepler. By 900 AD, Hero's steam experiments, preserved and iterated upon across generations of engineers, yield practical rotary mechanisms. Watermills and windmills of sophisticated design are widespread. The concept of the printing press, already intuited by Roman scholars working with stamps and seals, emerges as a natural extension. By 1100 AD, with preserved Alexandrian optics drawn from the work of Euclid and Hero, the telescope is a logical invention, not a revolutionary accident. The mathematics needed to describe planetary motion are already in circulation. By 1300 AD, a synthesis occurs. An intellect working within this tradition assembles the accumulated mechanics and astronomy of 7 centuries into a unified theory of gravitation and motion. Calculus is formalized. The scientific method is not a revolutionary paradigm shift, it is simply how scholars have always worked. By 1450 AD, industrial mechanization begins. Steam engines, descended directly from Hero's Aeolipile through 800 years of iteration, power mines and workshops. Chemistry, built on an unbroken tradition of Alexandrian natural philosophy, is already a rigorous discipline. By 1600 AD, the electromagnetic properties of matter, analogous to Faraday's discoveries in our own 1830s, are documented and applied. Early electrical systems emerge. Metallurgy advances to produce alloys of the quality that, in our timeline, would not appear until the industrial 19th century. By 1750 AD, with thermodynamics understood, atmospheric science mature, and rocketry theory, building on centuries of Chinese gunpowder engineering, now integrated with advanced physics, fully developed, the first serious scientific proposals for high-altitude flight begin to circulate among the period's leading natural philosophers. By 1820 AD, a crude rocket, chemically propelled, massive and expensive, but functional, departs from an equatorial launch site. Days later, human beings set foot on the surface of the moon. Not through digital guidance systems, not through liquid oxygen and precision manufacturing, but through the accumulated force of 22 uninterrupted centuries of human inquiry. Before heading to the counterpart of this breaking technology progress, quick shout out to last video's giveaway winner, Bethany Hofstra. You were the first to drop the correct answer in the comments. Congrats on the win. Don't forget, our merch store is up. And to celebrate, we're offering special discount codes. Watch to the end to get the code. Accelerated progress is not equivalent to accelerated wisdom. A civilization reaching industrial capacity in the 14th century rather than the 18th would also have reached the capacity for industrial-scale violence, environmental extraction, and territorial domination centuries earlier. The asymmetries of power that defined our own colonial era, already devastating in their human cost, would have operated across a far longer timeline. Resources would have been consumed earlier, ecological pressures would have compounded sooner, and the social structures of the medieval world, monarchies, theocracies, rigid hierarchies, would have been handed tools of control that history suggests they would not have been slow to use. Progress in isolation does not guarantee justice. The library housed the works of Aristotle, who also provided intellectual justification for the institution of slavery. Knowledge is an amplifier. It magnifies what is already present in the civilization that wields it. We did eventually reach the moon on the 20th of July, 1969, not 1820. We reconstructed what was lost through fragmented Arabic translations, through Renaissance scholars piecing together incomplete manuscripts, through centuries of painful, circuitous intellectual labor. Human curiosity proved, in the end, irrepressible. But the Library of Alexandria stands as a permanent reminder that progress is not inevitable. The physical places where knowledge is gathered, protected, and transmitted Libraries, universities, and archives are not ornaments of civilization. They are its architecture. What was lost on the shores of Egypt was not simply text, it was time. And time, unlike knowledge, cannot be recovered. Every generation inherits a library of some kind and makes a choice about what to do with it. Alexandria taught us what happens when a single institution, fragile, irreplaceable, is allowed to fracture. Now, consider an entire civilization. In 843 AD, three brothers signed the Treaty of Verdun and divided Charlemagne's empire, a unified Western Europe stretching from the Pyrenees to the Elbe, into three separate kingdoms. That partition drew the fault lines along which Europe would bleed for the next 12 centuries. What if they hadn't? To celebrate the launch of our new merch shop, we are releasing special discount codes. Type the code INFWORLD04 when checking out to receive a big discount code. Like the video, subscribe, and keep an eye out for more exploring of our world's long-forgotten mysteries.